Welcome to America, the once great nation, or as some people would put it, was it ever great? This is our video number 6, and today we're going to talk about the Star Wars syndrome. This is a lighter side today, but we just want to talk about it because it's an important fabric of society. That is the art of entertainment. I call it the Star Wars syndrome, where men are being removed, replaced, and downgraded on TV and in movies. There is a concerted effort to minimize men today. They are seen by many as unnecessary to society. In this context, we will talk about Hollywood and how women may be taking over. Let's go back in time, back to the 60s, when I was growing up and witnessed what I would say are some of the best television shows of the era. We had shows like Star Trek, Bonanza, Combat, Gunsmoke, The Wild Wild West, I Spy, It Takes a Thief, and just to name a few. There were many, many more. These shows were fun to watch because they were well written, directed, and produced. Of course, the right actors were chosen for their roles, and we began to think of them as Little Joe on Bonanza, or Bones on Star Trek, etc. And whenever we saw them in other shows or movies, we always were reminded of our favorite TV characters. When we talk about making TV shows from comic book heroes, we must talk about Steve Reeves and his portrayal of DC's Superman in the 50s. I must assume the writers of the show must have at least picked up a couple of Superman comics to get a feel for the character. We must have had some reference material to look at. Then we saw Batman come onto the small screen in the mid-60s, starring Adam West. Again, I will guess the writers might have gone to the reference material. I don't think anyone decided to make Batman their own. Change the story to tell their own story wouldn't make sense. They may have added characters, but they fit within the true story of the original comic book. Today, if we look at the creative license that has abandoned canon altogether, it just leaves a bad taste in the mouth of the fans. We can go back to 1999 when the Wild Wild West movie came out and Robert Conrad's character was replaced by Will Smith, an African-American actor. Now, Will Smith is a great actor, but asking the audience to accept the fact that it would be rare for a black man to be working for the Secret Service in 1870 and working directly for President Grant is a stretch. Of course, the writers didn't have a problem with this, but Will Smith wasn't the real reason the movie was bad. Not hiring a little person, instead chopping the legs off of Dr. Lovelace and putting him in a mechanical chair also didn't help. Poorly written, the wrong actors hired doomed the movie. I wonder how much money was lost on this terrible movie. We did have strong female characters when I was growing up. There was a British import called Emma Peel of the Avengers, or Honey West, a private detective, and Pepper Anderson on Policewoman. There was Cagney and Lacey, two down-to-earth female detectives. Then we had from DC Comics TV's Wonder Woman. And even before those heroes, we had Annie Oakley on a Western, and one of my favorites in syndication when I was very young was Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. This was all before Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Xena the Warrior Princess. Both were butt kickers with a softer side, making them human characters we could like and relate to. Today, we can list examples like the recent Charlie's Angels movies, where the women are far superior to the men in the movie, defeating men 3 times their size. Or we can look at the newest female Equalizer series, which really asks us to suspend disbelief as to her fighting abilities. The writers don't seem to care, so why should we? Back in my youth, I watched Emma Peel save John Steed one week, and then the next week, John Steed saved her. They were equals and we accepted it. Emma defeated her share of bad guys, but it was not over the top. It was believable, not like today's shows and movies who depict 5'7" women throwing around 280-pound bad guys with little effort. What was more believable can also be said of Policewoman starring Angie Dickinson, or Honey West, Anne Francis, who was a judo expert and could take care of herself despite her partner's bravest efforts. It's as if feminazis are trying to foist propaganda about how tough women are today and how weak men are. Why, I don't know. Both sexes used to be partners in crime, so to speak. If we look at the recent female hero that has lasted only a couple of seasons, that was Batwoman on the CW network. I remember watching the first 2 episodes and then I bailed. I saw through this. Every man is a bad guy on the show or is a weakling. This network show wasn't better than the original Batwoman movie that came out in 1966 that was a Jerry Warren schlock movie meant to be camp. It starred Catherine Victor. If you've never heard of her, don't feel bad, no one else has. The movie was titled The Wild World of Batwoman. Here's the VHS copy I purchased many years ago at a collectible show. This campy movie basically was better than the CW movie, the TV series. At least this one was set up to be billed as super sexy heroines still have time for rockin' and rollin' bikini beach parties. Sounds better than the CW version of the series. Today it seems modern writers, especially women, believe they alone are elevating women in Hollywood, and their stories are more important than canon. I think women were well represented as powerful characters even in comic books. They were female heroes such as Lady Luck, Senorita Rio, Spider Queen, Woman in Red, Pat Parker, War Nurse, Lady Satan, not to forget the original Wonder Woman. Then there were also a slew of beautiful jungle queens in Action Comics. Women are well represented in the world of comic books. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and to leave some comments. We really want to hear from you. I did not watch the latest Star Wars show made from Disney called The Acolyte. I don't have Disney, so I don't have the right to comment on the show itself. But I did watch reviewers like Heel vs. Babyface, The Critical Drinker, or Nerdrotic, and others. Apparently, according to the powers that be at Disney, they were too critical of the show, thus leading to its downfall. I did see a few clips of the show, and I can say they were not the reason for the downfall of The Acolyte. If you wish to build a women-centric show, why not do a show about young Princess Leia, or how she became a leader for the rebels? That would have been more interesting. But they decided to throw the Legacy brand under the bus and come up with a non-Star Wars type program about strong women. Again, reducing men to less than characters. By the way, there'll be no season 2 of The Acolyte. We should always have the right to call out bad shows, no matter who writes them, directs them, and who acts in them. To attack the fans for bashing a TV show only digs the hole deeper. The public knows what it wants to watch. Make a bad show in this day and age, and you will hear about it instantaneously. In my early life, you had to write in to complain about a show and wait for your letter to be answered. Now, there was a woman back in the day who directed movies and TV shows. She did it in the heyday of the Boys Club of Hollywood. It had to be tough for any woman to work her way up to director status. Her name was Ida Lupino, and her career scanned many years. We will go to just a rendition of Ida Lupino. I hope I did her justice. She was an actress, a writer, a producer, and a director. Now, her career spanned many years. Starting in the early 50s, she had a 48-year Hollywood career. She appeared in 59 films. She directed 8 films. She directed over 100 television episodes. And she was just like I said, a writer, director, actor, and producer. What is my point for bringing her up? She would have done her homework on any project she was working on. She would not have injected her life into the movie or TV show. She would have become the character written for that episode. That is what we expect of any writer, producer, and director and actress of a beloved TV or movie series. Write a good show like MASH or All in the Family or Gunsmoke, and people will watch for years. The reason viewers are watching classic TV shows on streaming services today is because they're just good. Not woke propaganda foisted on the loyal Star Trek or Star Wars fans. What we get now is, as viewers, is a political message. When writers write shows leaning towards gay and trans that equals good and straight men equals bad, you have injected your tribal and political biases into what should be an entertaining show, not a political statement. One must ask, will these feminists ever turn on minority men? Will they have the stone ovaries to push minority men out of the way, not just white men? We'll see. We should always want our superheroes, whether male or female, to be strong and invincible, but also be human with compassion and understanding. Those that aren't are not heroes. Those are the villains. That shows we know the difference. Now, I'm going to pay a little homage to some female action figures that I think we would be interested in. And here we just call it girl power. And here we have the Wonder Woman type hero, the flying superheroes, the Jungle Girls that were prolific in the jungle comic books in the 50s. So basically, society is trying to emasculate men today. There is no doubt in my mind pushing them aside in favor of strong women. Let's hear a quote from the Creed of the Conquering Chief, which was written many years ago. The Creed of the Conquering Chief. And there is a fading away of the steel and sinew which made the old order grand type of leader. There is a rising up of the organizations, combines. There is a lodge and a link together for mutual protection, fraternal clans. Everywhere is the lack of I and the strength-sapping dependence on the we. We live in an artificial state of society. There is not the rugged, vital, aggressive type of man now, as of old. Members of the civilized social order are emasculated, as it were. If comparison is made with these natural man, we see foppery, vanity, effeminacy on all sides. There is a fawning attitude, a silly manner of clothing, a sinking of individuality. I believe in the man who works out his own destiny on a grand scale, but I do not believe in the man who leans and who cannot stand alone. This book, Creed of the Conquering Chief, by Albert Pelton, page 19 and 20, was published in 1920. So we've talked about this 100 years ago. Don't blame the people sitting at home wanting to be entertained. That won't work. Well, that's all for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and feel free to leave a comment. Please join us in the future, and take care.